For 18 centuries, the Vexary Imperium had ruled the stars with uncontested might. Their crystalline ships, powered by captured stellar essences, carved dominion across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Lesser species bowed or perished beneath their technological supremacy. Emperor Dravex the Magnificent, 12th of his lineage, had never known defeat. Until Earth. Admiral Talora Nevkar stood on the command deck of the Eternal Dominion, the flagship of the Imperium's 7th Fleet. Through the sweeping observation portal, the blue-white marble of humanity's homeworld hung, suspended against the void, deceptively peaceful. "Status report," she demanded, 6-fingered hands clasped behind her back. Her iridescent exoskeleton caught the ambient light as she paced. "The human defensive grid remains silent, Admiral," reported Tactical Officer Balaxis. "No movement from their orbital platforms. Planetary scan shows minimal military mobilization." Talora's mandibles clicked in contemplation. Intelligence had proven accurate. The humans appeared woefully unprepared for what was coming. "Emperor Dravex grows impatient," she said. 6 cycles we've monitored this backwater planet. In 6 cycles they've shown no acknowledgement of our presence. "Perhaps they lack the technology to detect us," suggested Executive Officer Murith. "Their spacefaring capabilities are primitive at best." "No," Talora shook her crested head. "There's something else. The humans have achieved faster-than-light communication within the last decade. Their quantum entanglement network rivals our own. Yet they make no attempt to hail us. The conquest of Earth wasn't strictly necessary. The humans occupied an unremarkable solar system on the periphery of Vexary space. But when Imperial probes detected unusual energy signatures emanating from the 3rd planet, energy that matched ancient warnings in the Forbidden Archives, Emperor Dravex had dispatched his most accomplished admiral to investigate. "Deploy reconnaissance drones," Talora ordered. "Passive scans only. I want to know what they're hiding." Hours later, as the Eternal Dominion orbited Earth's moon, the drones returned with perplexing findings. "Admiral," Balaxis called, "we've detected a massive structure beneath the Atlantic Ocean, approximately 4.3 kilometers in length. It appears artificial, yet also organic." Talora studied the holographic rendering with narrowing compound eyes. "Energy signature, dormant but potentially immense. The composition includes elements unknown to our periodic table. And the humans built this?" "Negative," Balaxis replied. "Carbon dating suggests it predates human civilization by millennia. They appear to be studying it." Talora felt an ancestral chill crawl along her exoskeleton. The ancient text spoke of weapons from before the birth of stars. Leviathans, they were called, entities of such destructive capability that even the precursor races had feared them. "Contact the Emperor," she decided. "We need guidance." The Emperor's response was immediate and absolute. "Destroy the weapon. Subjugate the humans. Leave nothing to chance." Within hours, the 7th Fleet assembled in Earth orbit, 200 crystalline warships arranged in attack formation. The humans would have no warning, no chance to activate whatever ancient horror they discovered. As Talora gave the order to commence bombardment, a single alert pulsed across her command console. "Admiral," Murith's voice was strained. Energy surged from the oceanic structure. It's awakening." Dr. Aurelia Volkov stood ankle-deep in seawater on the observation deck of the Mariana Research Station, 13 kilometers off the Portuguese coast. Through the reinforced windows, lightning storms illuminated the night sky in eerie, unnatural patterns. Proximity alert from Aegis Network, called Thaddeus Blackwood, the station's communications officer. His dark fingers flew across holographic displays as information poured in. "Multiple objects in high orbit. They're not ours." Aurelia didn't respond immediately. Her attention remained fixed on the waves, which had begun to move against the prevailing current. Concentric circles rippling outward from some distant point. "It's responding," she whispered. "After 30 years, it's finally responding." Commander Paxandara appeared at her side, bronze face etched with concern. "The signal is confirmed, Doctor. 200 alien vessels in formation above Earth. Attack posture, according to the simulations. How much time? Aurelia asked. Minutes at most. They've launched what appeared to be weapons platforms. For 3 decades. The Leviathan project had been mankind's most closely guarded secret. Discovered in 2094 during deep-sea mining operations, the biomechanical entity had defied analysis. Carbon dating placed its origin 5 million years before humanity's first civilizations. Its purpose remained unknown, despite the efforts of 15,000 scientists across 12 nations. Until 6 days ago, when long-range sensors detected the approaching alien fleet. Orbital defenses? Aurelia asked. Ineffective against their technology, Pax replied. The simulations give Earth's military forces a survival probability of less than 7%. Aurelia nodded grimly. Then we have no choice. Initiate Protocol Prometheus. Pax hesitated. The entity remains untested. We don't know if we can control it. We don't need to control it, Aurelia countered. We just need to aim it. Deep beneath the station, in chambers of pressurized xenofluid, the ancient construct they'd codenamed Leviathan had begun to stir. The quantum interface Aurelia had designed established a primitive connection with the entity's consciousness, if such a term could apply to something so utterly alien. Across the world, power grids faltered as energy was diverted to the Mariana station. Satellite communications flickered and died. Military commands went silent as every available resource was channeled toward awakening the sleeping giant. Connection established, Thaddeus announced, voice hushed with awe. It's communicating. On the main display, symbols and geometric patterns flowed in sequences too rapid for human comprehension. But the AI translation matrix detected patterns, constructing meaning from chaos. Threat detected, protocol activated, defense imperative initiated. It understands, Aurelia breathed. Show it the targets. The station's quantum computers uploaded imagery of the alien fleet. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then, the ocean began to boil. Energy readings off the scale. Thaddeus shouted over suddenly blaring alarms. Structure integrity at maximum stress levels. Water erupted skyward in a kilometer-wide geyser as something massive breached the surface. Sleek and dark, its surface rippling with bioluminescent patterns, the Leviathan rose. Not metal, not flesh, but something between, a fusion of technology and biology created by hands not human. My God, whispered Pax. It's beautiful. It's angry, Aurelia corrected, watching as the entity continued to rise, accelerating toward the stratosphere. And it's heading straight for them. Admiral Talara watched in horror as the ocean parted beneath her fleet. Something vast and ancient was rising, a shadow darker than the deepest void, edged with electric blue luminescence that pulsed in hypnotic patterns. Full defensive posture, she commanded. All ships, concentrate fire on the emerging entity. The Vexery fleet responded instantly. 200 crystalline warships pivoted, their stellar core weapons charging with blinding intensity. The first salvos struck the rising Leviathan with enough force to vaporize a small moon. The energy simply vanished, absorbed into the entity's dark surface without visible effect. Impossible, breathed Murith. Nothing can withstand concentrated fire from an entire fleet. The Leviathan continued its inexorable ascent, accelerating past hypersonic velocity. As it breached the atmosphere, its form became fully visible. A sinuous, serpentine shape nearly 5 kilometers long, its body segmented with what appeared to be armored plates. No obvious weapons, no visible propulsion. Yet it moved with purpose and terrifying speed. Evasive maneuvers, Talara ordered. All ships, scatter formation. Too late. The Leviathan reached orbital altitude in seconds, its massive form curving gracefully toward the nearest Vexery vessel. With delicate precision, it wrapped its length around the crystalline hull of the destroyer Radiant Fury. There was no violent impact, no explosive force, merely contact. Then, impossibly, the destroyer began to crumble. Not as if crushed, but as if its molecular bonds were simply releasing. The proud warship dissolved into cosmic dust, its crew of 800 Vexery warriors given no time to scream. What manner of weapon is this? Talera demanded, mandibles clicking in agitation. Unknown, Admiral. Sensors detect exotic particle emissions unlike anything in our database. The Leviathan moved again, flowing through space with the fluid grace of a creature born to the void. It split apart, sections of its body separating while maintaining some invisible connection. With horrifying efficiency, it engaged 5 Vexery vessels simultaneously. Each suffered the same fate: molecular disintegration upon contact. Direct hit, announced Weapons Officer Drexus as the Eternal Dominion's main cannon discharged a stream of compressed stellar plasma directly into the Leviathan's central mass. For a heartbeat, Talera allowed herself hope. Then the plasma flow reversed, following the beam back to its source. The weapon emplacement melted, superheated metal flowing like water across the flagship's hull. It's not just absorbing our attacks, Talera realized aloud. It's learning from them. Across the fleet, panic spread like contagion. Ships attempted to flee, engaging their transluminal drives with desperate haste. But space itself seemed to warp around the Leviathan, creating gravitational eddies that disrupted faster-than-light calculations. Vessels that attempted jumps materialized only kilometers away, their navigation systems confused. The slaughter continued with methodical precision. The entity moved from ship to ship, never rushing, never hesitating. Within 20 minutes, half the 7th Fleet had been reduced to drifting particles. Admiral, Muritha's voice was steady despite the carnage unfolding before them. We've intercepted transmissions from the planet's surface. The humans, they're communicating with it. Open a channel, Talera commanded. All frequencies, all languages in our database. When the connection established, she spoke with dignity befitting her rank. This is Admiral Talera Nevkar of the Vexery Imperium. We seek immediate cessation of hostilities. The response came not in words, but in images and impressions projected directly into the minds of everyone aboard the Eternal Dominion. Ancient memories of worlds burning, species extinguished, and a solemn promise made Khans ago to protect those yet to evolve against the tyranny of the stars. Emperor Dravex the Magnificent sat upon the crystal throne, his exoskeleton polished to blinding brilliance for the emergency council meeting. Around him, the 12 high ministers of the Imperium waited in uncharacteristic silence, their usual political maneuvering suspended in the face of unprecedented disaster. The 7th Fleet gone? Dravex finally asked, though the quantum transmission from Admiral Talera had been explicit. Our finest ships and warriors, annihilated by a single entity. Minister Vorialax, ancient keeper of the Forbidden Archives, stepped forward. His movements were labored, his exoskeleton brittle with extreme age. Majesty, he began, what Admiral Talera encountered matches the description of the Sentinel Leviathans documented in our most ancient texts. The precursors called them the final argument, weapons created by the first ones to enforce evolutionary autonomy. Dravex's compound eyes narrowed. Explain. According to the fragments we've preserved, the Leviathans were deployed across the galaxy in protected environments, gas giants, ocean worlds, stellar coronas, programmed to awaken only when developing species faced extinction-level threats from spacefaring civilizations. You're suggesting this. Creature believes it's protecting the humans? From us. Precisely, Majesty. It was designed to recognize the difference between natural, evolutionary challenges and external conquest. When our fleet positioned for attack, it identified us as the threat its makers programmed it to counter. The Emperor rose from his throne, mandibles clicking in agitation. Why was I not informed of these weapons before I dispatched my fleet? Vorialax lowered his head. The information was deemed mythological, Majesty. No Leviathan had been encountered in 18 centuries of Vexery expansion. We believe them extinct, if they ever existed at all. A new transmission interrupted the council, Admiral Talara's face appeared on the chamber's hollow projector, her exoskeleton cracked and leaking vital fluids. "Emperor," she gasped, "the eternal dominion has been breached. The entity is selective. It destroys our weapons, but leaves our life support intact. The humans are hailing us." "Humans?" Dravex spat the word. "They dare to dictate terms to the Imperium? Not the humans' majesty. The Leviathan itself. It carries the consciousness of its makers. They wish to speak with you directly." Before Dravex could respond, the holographic projection shifted. In place of Admiral Talara appeared a shimmering, abstract form, geometric patterns flowing like liquid mathematics, occasionally resolving into approximations of biological shapes before dissolving again. When it spoke, each Vexery heard the words in their own internal voice. "We have watched your kind for millennia conquering, subjugating, extinguishing. This pattern ends today." Dravex, to his credit, maintained imperial composure. "By what authority do you challenge the divine right of the Vexery Imperium to expand as we see fit?" "By the authority of those who seeded the stars by the covenant made when your ancestors still swam in primordial seas, by the promise that all children of the cosmos shall determine their own destiny." Minister Vorialax trembled. "The first ones, they still exist. We are their memory, we are their promise, we are their law." The Emperor's mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress rarely displayed in public. "What do you want from us?" "Withdrawal. Reparation. Reformation. The Imperium will retreat from all developing worlds. The age of conquest is ended." The Global Defense Council chamber in Geneva hummed with tense energy as leaders from every nation gathered for the most significant announcement in human history. Dr. Aurelia Volkov stood at the central podium, exhaustion etched in every line of her face after 72 sleepless hours. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, 3 days ago, humanity was targeted for conquest by an advanced alien civilization known as the Vexery Imperium. Their fleet of 200 warships was destroyed by the entity we've designated Leviathan Alpha. Murmurs swept through the assembly. Despite military censorship, grainy footage of the space battle had leaked online. Conspiracy theories flourished, religious fervor spiked, and markets worldwide teetered on collapse. "The entity is not, as some have suggested, a terrestrial weapon," Aurelia continued. "Carbon dating and quantum signature analysis confirm it was created approximately 10 million years ago by a civilization we know nothing about, except that they possess technology far beyond our comprehension." President Uloho of the African Federation raised her hand. "Dr. Volkov, are you suggesting this Leviathan was placed on Earth specifically to protect us?" "Not exactly, Madam President. Based on our limited communication with the entity, we believe Earth was one of thousands of worlds selected as incubation sites for developing intelligence. The Leviathans were deployed as guardians, programmed to remain dormant unless their protected species faced external extinction threats. So this thing has been sleeping under our oceans for millions of years?" asked Premier Blackwood of the North American Alliance. "Just waiting for someone to attack us?" "Essentially, yes. Though sleeping isn't precisely accurate. It's been aware, monitoring, learning. It speaks of other Leviathans across the galaxy, protecting other young species." Field Marshal Valachi from the Eurasian Coalition leaned forward. "Can we control it? Weaponize it?" Aurelia's expression hardened. "No, Marshal, we cannot. The Leviathan made that abundantly clear. It protected us because that is its purpose, but it is not our servant. It exists to ensure evolutionary autonomy for all developing species, including protection from us, should we ever threaten others as the Vexery threatened us." The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity had been saved not through its own ingenuity or strength, but by the foresight of ancient beings who had encoded an ethical imperative into the fabric of galactic development. "There's more," Aurelia said. "The Leviathan has established communication with the Vexery Emperor. The Imperium has agreed to withdraw from all developing worlds and recognize a new interstellar covenant. and they've offered us membership in what they call the Galactic Council, a federation of species who have passed the threshold of Leviathan protection. Past the threshold? Echoed Ambassador Curzon of the Eastern Alliance. What does that mean? It means humanity is now recognized as a spacefaring civilization with rights and responsibilities under laws established millions of years before we existed. It means we're not alone, and we never were. It means everything changes starting today. Commander Pax Indara stepped forward, placing a small crystalline cube on the podium. It hummed to life, projecting a three-dimensional star map showing hundreds of illuminated worlds scattered across the galactic arms. These are the other protected species, Pax explained. Some barely in their stone age, others approaching technological parity with us. All guarded by their own Leviathans. All potential allies or enemies, depending on the path we choose. Aurelia surveyed the stunned faces of Earth's leadership. We stand at a crossroads, unlike any our species has faced. The Leviathan has given us a gift beyond measure. Knowledge that we're part of something greater, and that our actions from this point forward will determine our place in a cosmos older and more structured than we ever imagined. 5 years after the Leviathan incident, the orbital platform New Horizon hosted the first official meeting between representatives of humanity and the reformed Vexery Cooperative. The vast observation lounge offered spectacular views of Earth below and the alien delegation's crystalline vessel hanging in synchronous orbit nearby. Ambassador Daria Kovash, formerly a theoretical physicist before first contact redefined human careers, studied her Vexery counterpart with professional interest. Toravex Nevkar, son of the infamous Admiral Talara who had survived the Leviathan's judgment, was smaller than most Vexery, his exoskeleton bearing the muted blue patterns of the diplomatic caste. The Rehabilitation Accord has been implemented across 87% of former imperial territories, Toravex reported, mandibles moving in the precise pattern that human translators had learned indicated formal satisfaction. 17 developing species have been recognized and granted autonomous sectors. And the remaining 13%? Daria asked. Resistance continues in the outer colonial regions. Some military commanders refuse to acknowledge the Emperor's change of heart. Both knew this was diplomatic understatement. Emperor Dravex had not changed his heart so much as had it replaced. The Leviathan's intervention in imperial politics have been surgical and absolute. The choices presented were simple: reform or extinction. The Galactic Council convenes in 12 standard months, Toravex continued. Humanity's petition for membership will be the first item addressed. Beyond the observation window, a familiar dark shape glided past. The Leviathan, its massive form silhouetted against Earth's blue atmosphere. Since the battle, it had established a patrol perimeter extending to the Kuiper Belt, occasionally vanishing for weeks before returning without explanation. Does it still communicate with you? Toravex asked, compound eyes tracking the entity's movement. Rarely, Daria admitted. Dr. Volkov maintains the primary connection, but even she describes the exchanges as oblique. It shares knowledge about stellar phenomena, extinct civilizations, physical principles we're only beginning to understand, but never about itself or its creators. The same is true across the galaxy. Each Leviathan speaks to its protected species, but never reveals the face of those who made them. Their conversation was interrupted as the observation lounge darkened automatically. Outside, the Leviathan had begun to glow with shifting patterns of bioluminescence, a display that scientists still couldn't interpret with certainty. Beautiful, whispered Toravex, mandibles trembling with what human xenopsychologists had tentatively identified as reverence. My ancestors would have worshipped such a being. Many humans already do, Daria replied. New religions have emerged overnight. Others find their existing faith strengthened by proof that something set guardians among the stars. The Leviathan's display intensified, casting prismatic light across the orbital platform. Then, unexpectedly, both human and Vexery felt a gentle pressure against their consciousness, the entity's preferred method of direct communication. The covenant endures, the children grow, the stars await. As the message faded, the Leviathan accelerated away from Earth, its massive form dwindling to a point of light before vanishing entirely. Another mysterious journey to unknown destinations. Ambassador, Torvek said quietly, for 18 centuries, my people believed the stars were ours by divine right. We thought conquest was the natural law of the cosmos. Daria nodded, and humans were preparing to follow the same path, once we developed the technology. Perhaps that is why the first ones created the Leviathans, not just to protect developing species from others, but from themselves, to ensure that by the time any civilization reached the stars, they understood the responsibility that came with such power. Beyond the viewport, Earth rotated serenely, its nations now united by common purpose. Where once humans had dreamed of conquering the galaxy, they now prepared to join it as equals. One voice among many in a conversation that had been ongoing for millions of years. In the darkness between stars, other Leviathans patrolled their assigned sectors. Other young species took their first steps toward a destiny shaped not by conquest, but by the covenant established before the first human ancestor looked skyward and wondered what awaited beyond the horizon. The Vexery had once ruled the stars through force and fear. Now, alongside humanity and countless others, they would learn to share them.